England announced their Ashes squad the other week, and well, I'm late to the party, but I felt it wouldn't be right if I didn't put together some thoughts with regards to the squad of players that they put together. I think it's a squad of 16, and there's some really, really exciting names in there. I'm excited for the Ashes. I'm sure you're excited for the Ashes. Let's see who England have picked. Let's see my thoughts about it, and I want to hear your thoughts as well. Firstly, thank you for being over here on the new channel. Really appreciate it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you think England can best line up with the squad of 16 players that they've picked for this 2025-2026 Ashes series. I will get to mine in a moment. We're also going to talk about players that might be missing as well. So we're going to start with the squad, captained by Ben Stokes. Harry Brook has had an upgrade. He's now the vice-captain, which potentially puts a bit of a question mark over Ollie Pope. But Duckett, Crawley, Pope, Root, Smith are the other batters. Bethell and Will Jacks, Bryden Carse are the all-rounders. Then you've got Jofra Archer, Gus Atkinson, Matt Potts, Shoaib Bashire, Josh Tong and Mark Wood to round out that squad of 16. My first thoughts on it are, well, it's exciting. It's fearless, it's unproven, but then equally unscarred, but it's probably a little bit brittle as well. My kind of first thoughts, the majority of the players there, they haven't really suffered through an Ashes series. A few of the batters have, I will accept, but you're going to go in there with an Archer, an Atkinson, a Carse, a Bashire, a Josh Tong, a Jacob Bethell, a Jamie Smith, a Ben Duckett, a Harry Brook. None of those guys have got any baggage from previous Ashes tours. And I think that, well, that's a huge advantage. None of this, oh, it didn't work last time. Oh, the Aussie press are going to be mean to me. Oh, the fans are going to give me a bit of stick on the boundary. They don't know that. They're not going to know that. And I think this group are more resilient to that kind of treatment than what we've ever had in the past with an England team going to Australia. The top 7, the first segment of this video is the top 7. And I think for the most part, in my opinion, it just picks itself, doesn't it? Duckett, Crawley, Pope, maybe. We'll talk about him in a minute. Joe Root, Harry Brook, Ben Stokes, Jamie Smith. 6 of that top 7 are absolute certs. There is no question in my mind whatsoever that those 6 out of 7 will play the first test and play all the way through the 5 test matches unless there is some form of injury. I don't even think the drop in form makes any issue. I don't think this group panics. I don't think we're going to suddenly see an opener get dropped after the first test match because they've got a low score. That doesn't happen now, and I think that's fantastic. The question at number 3 then, and it will be at number 3 because nobody else is going to move around the batting order in order to facilitate any of these players, but is it Ollie Pope? Is it Jacob Bethell? That's the big question. That's the huge talking point here. Now, my thoughts on this, England don't do normal things anymore. They don't pick the player that you think they're going to pick. They look left field. They do things differently. It's not the status quo in this England team. Personally, I'd pick Ollie Pope. However, England are just as likely to go ahead and pick Jacob Bethell, aren't they? Rob Key on he's done like a podcast tour basically, hasn't he, over the last couple of weeks, and has made a lot of noises to indicate that Jacob Bethell is the preferred option for this Ashes series coming up, which is really interesting. And I had a look at some of the numbers the two of them have put together. Now, firstly, you're not really looking, well, you are looking to the future, but Ollie Pope isn't exactly in the past. He's 27 years old. Jacob Bethell is 21. Ollie Pope has played 61 test matches. Jacob Bethell has played 4. Ollie Pope, 3,607 runs. Jacob Bethell, 271. Now, this is the bit that I think we get stuck on. After 61 test matches, Ollie Pope as a career average is 35.3. After 4, Jacob Bethell's is 38.71. Now, look, the averages will sort themselves out over time, and Jacob Bethell may end up averaging less than 38.71. But after 61 test matches, yes, Ollie Pope is in a nice patch at number 3. It's working really well there with Ben Stokes as captain. He averages over 40. But is it enough after 61 tests? He's got a high score of 205. Jacob Bethell has a high score in Test cricket of 96. In Australia, I did have a little bit of a look. Ollie Pope played there in the last series. He scored 67 runs in 6 innings. He scored 191 runs in 9 innings in the 24-25 Big Bash with the Adelaide Strikers. Yes, different format, different coloured kits, different coloured ball, all that good stuff, but it's in Australia, so I think it was relevant. Jacob Bethel has scored 195 runs in 8 innings in the 24-25 BBL for the Renegades. Not much in it. And I don't know how likely this is or where relevant or not, but he averages 52 in test matches in New Zealand. So I'd pick Ollie Pope, but I think England are going to pick Jacob Bethel. I'd love to know your thoughts on that one. Spare batters? Well, we don't really have one. We haven't really got an out-and-out spare batter, so to speak. It is Jacob Bethel, potentially, or Ollie Pope, and Will Jacks. We don't have one. We don't have a number 3. We don't have a spare number 3 kicking around. We've got an all-rounder. We've got 2 all-rounders, haven't we? Jacob Bethel and Will Jacks. The Lions are in Australia they will go there to Australia. I think they've got 3 games in Perth, Brisbane and Canberra. And they've got a pretty stacked first-class English squad, with the exception of Safe, who should have been there. But they will have Tom Haynes, Emilio Gay and Ben McKinney in Australia at the same time, and potentially would be able to figure out some way of kind of putting them in a hotel room round the corner that no one would know that they're part of the squad, and then they could just kind of stay there for the rest of the Ashes. So if there was some injury to one of the top 3 or top 4, then potentially there is a replacement in Australia that isn't actually in the squad, but would be a genuine batter rather than a bit of an all-round or bit part cricketer. So there's another kind of thing to think about. Fast bowlers. Fast bowlers, we've got 6 of them. We've got 6 fast bowlers going to Australia. And with Stokes, assuming that he's fully fit to play, I would guess that we will play 3. Because it's Shoaib Bashire plays, right? Surely we play a spinner. Surely we don't go into a test match with Stokes, 4 seamers and a bit of Joe Root, because I don't like that idea much. But anyway, I wondered as to what the depth chart would be with regards to this, and I've put it up in a way here. I think Archer, Atkinson and Bryden Carse will be England's preferred 3 seamers. So they would, in my mind, if they're fit, ready to go, would play the first test match in order to try and go 1-0 up in the series, because they would be your best options. Then kind of your next step down, I think you've got Mark Wood and Josh Tong. Now Woods, I look at him as say Archer plays 3, Wood plays 2, or they play 3 because they play 1 together. I could see that working really well, but the 2 of them being those high pace impact guys would be those cricketers that kind of dovetail each other nicely, in my opinion. Then Josh Tong, just a strike bowler, isn't he? Just takes wickets. I don't think he's one of those guys that goes through a game of bowling, or a cricket match, a test match, a first-class match. It doesn't roll particularly well. Then kind of puts together a 6-over spell and you think, oh my word, this bloke's the best bowler in the world. Josh Tong is that kind of cricketer, and that's incredibly valuable. I look at him as someone that potentially comes in as a Carse Atkinson kind of switch around. But if you drop either Carse or Atkinson or rest one of them, then you do lose out on some batting, and Josh Tong doesn't provide you with that. And then finally, Matt Potts, I think he's there as a bit of a spare, to be honest with you. I think he's on the 3rd kind of tier of it. I don't necessarily see him. I don't see him having a huge role in the Ashes. Wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't play a test match. Phenomenal bowler, fantastic, very skillful, but I don't necessarily see him having a huge role to play. Very, very prepared to be wrong. Big issue they've obviously all got: fitness. Archer's been injured, Atkinson's been injured, Carse has been injured, Tong's been injured, Wood's been injured. Fast bowlers, injuries, they go hand in hand. They just work so well together, don't they? You can't have one without the other. Depth, I think we've got depth sorted. And Ben Stokes, assuming he's fully fit to bowl, I've seen him training up at Loughborough and stuff, and he looks great. And hopefully he's just ready to go flat out, and we'll be able to balance that side out nicely. It's only Mark Wood out of those seamers that have ever played a test match in Australia before. He was there in 21-22, took 17 wickets in 4 matches at an average of 26.5. Does the inexperience matter? Maybe. I mean, it's going to be Kookaburra cricket balls. Now, the ECB, they've put together those Kookaburra rounds in the middle of the summer where obviously they're used to develop, and which means we're going to go to Australia, we're going to dominate because we've used the Kookaburra. But I don't think many of these lads have actually played any of those Kookaburra rounds because they're scheduled alongside test matches. But yeah, that's a bit of an issue, in my opinion. Spinners, Shoaib Bashire, he's recovered from his injury that he picked up in the summer. He's in the squad. He'll be ready to go. He'll be the first choice frontline spinner. He will play, I'm almost certain, all 5 of the test matches. Now, Australia have got that incredible way, haven't they, of going, you've got a bit of off spin, do you? Right, well, we are going to slap you all over the place and see how mentally resilient you are. That's going to be Shoaib Bashire's biggest challenge on this Ashes tour. Is he going to be able to put up with potentially just being forever attacked by the Aussie batters? They do not let a spinner bowl at them. That's the big problem. Will Jacks is also there. Now, I've put him in there as spinners, and this is where I want to talk about Will Jacks, because I mentioned about him a while ago about being a potential option for England in Test match cricket going forward. And when you look at the numbers that he's put together in comparison to some of the others, the numbers look okay. They don't look great. They don't look great as a whole, but in terms of what a comparative is, then it's not too bad. He's got 6 wickets in 2 Test matches in Pakistan, 49 first-class wickets at 42s for Surrey in his career, which isn't exactly going to write you any headlines, is it? He's only played 5 first-class matches in the period from the start of the 2024 calendar year up to now. He has a high score, or this is from 2025, had a high score of 119 for Surrey in the 3 matches that he played in the 2025 County Championship with 5 wickets. 5 wickets in 6 innings is what he was able to put together for Surrey in those 3 championship matches. And they're in the middle of summer as well, so there's a great chance they were a Kookaburra round. Who's missing? Who's missing is my next thing. And again, I've opened this up to the members at danjads.com, and I've got their thoughts. If you'd like to get more involved in the content, it's a great place to go. Support me through this journey, the rebuild, whatever you want to call it. Get involved in the content. But we've got the first one. We've got a comment from Adam, and they've put on along the lines of, they've suggested Sonny Baker is missing here in this 11 or in this 16. If he is missing, then he's missing for Matt Potts. They've gone for Matt Potts over Sonny Baker. And the notes I've put together here is that England love a left field pick. He's got some unwanted records, hasn't he, on his debut in some of that white ball cricket that he played earlier this summer. He bowls absolute rockets. He took 19 wickets for Hampshire in the 2025 County Championship, 3 for 60 for an England Lions match against Australia in 2024-2025. And he'll also be in Australia with the England Lions for that Lions/Australia A tour. So he's going to be there. He's going to be an option. I think it's a great shout. If any of those 6 break down, they get injured, whatever that looks like, I think Sonny Baker will be the next cab off the rank, to use a Sky Sports punditism. He's just phenomenal. Bowls absolute gas, and it just works really well. Rehan Ahmed, this came in from JT. Again, my personal opinion is Rehan Ahmed should be in that England Ashes squad ahead of Will Jacks. There you go, I've said it. Rehan Ahmed should be there. England Lions selection, he's there, he's in the squad, he's in Australia over the course of that 25-26 period. He's probably going to be one of those cricketers, like I mentioned earlier, that England are going to be able to kind of just have around. I think it will go quite nicely. Leg spin's always tricky. Leg spin is tough. That's the hardest selling point. As skillful as you can be, you don't offer the control that you do with some lad that turns up and twists the doorknob and drops it down on a sixpence like you do with an off spinner. Leg spin is hard. Leg spin's inconsistent. Leg spin is easy to be picked apart by people that want to be ultra critical about things. And that's potentially the issue there with Rehan Ahmed. But you have a look at it and you think, we scored 500s for Leicestershire in Division 2 of the County Championship in their title-winning campaign. And 500s out of character, where he was batting at number 3, batting, as you would imagine, with that Rehan Ahmed typical high strike rate. Also took 26 wickets across the course of the championship too. Yes, it was in Division 2. Yes, I know there is some caveat in place to kind of weight those runs and weight those performances from Division 2 to Division 1, and that's possibly come into it. But I think he should be there. That's my opinion. And finally as well, Liam Dawson. This came in from Adam, a different Adam this time. And I think, unfortunately for Liam Dawson, I think that ship has sailed now. It was weird, wasn't it, in the summer? He got drafted into the final 2 test matches against India in that, what was it called in the end? I can't remember what they'd renamed the trophy to. But to replace Bashire after he picked up that injury, and he played the 4th test, and that was it. He did okay with the bat. He scored a handy 26 in England's total of like 700 or whatever it was in the end. But then in that second innings, after the batters had set that game up, and it probably didn't help the expectation, it didn't help the record, it didn't help the experience. And then he went wicketless from 47 overs in the second innings, which would have been the one that England would have gone, there you go, Liam, spin us to win this test match. And he wasn't able to do so. And the trust, I think, was broken so much that he didn't even play the 5th test. Didn't play at the Oval, a ground that England, or traditionally you play spinners at. He didn't even play. Final question is, can England win with this squad? Yes, they certainly can, but they're definitely second favourites. Absolutely second favourites. The positives I can see from this squad, and I mentioned it before, I don't see them breaking down mentally during the series. I think that's going to be so important from what we had before. And I don't use that as a negative, but I mean that as they're not going to be interested in what the daily newspaper from Sydney is going to say about a batter or a bowler. And they're not going to be interested in the fact that a big Australian man walking down the street's going to call them a flog. And they're not going to be interested in what one of the Australian cricketers might say to them on the cricket field. And that is so important. And it's something that England, I believe, have been guilty of in the past. Kevin Peterson's autobiography is amazing to read through and listen to with regards to his experience in Australia. And he said it's like nothing else at all. And I don't see this group of players being affected by that in the slightest. However, it's still Australia. It's still an incredibly hard place to go. It's still the Ashes, and Australia is still good at cricket, and that's going to be the trickiest part for this England team.